Hi, my name is Johanna Bishop, and my presentation will be over Feed My Sheep, Leadership Ideas for Latter-day Shepherds by Alexander Morrison. Don't ever judge a book by its cover. As an out-of-the-box thinker, I like to pick subjects that nobody else will, things that I'm interested in, and things that I would like others to know about. Although the title of this book seems like it would eliminate a huge portion of any audience, the general ideas of leadership can apply to anyone, despite what your religious preferences might be. I'll be discussing the essence of leadership, giving a summary of the book, how it can be applied to communication. This book was written by Alexander Morrison. He is a Canadian citizen. He is 81 years old currently. He is a member of the Latter-day Saint Church, or LDS. He serves in the general authorities for the LDS Church. He is a scientist and also a professor. This book was written primarily for LDS members to teach them ways that they can strive to be leaders within the church. It isn't a guide on how to be a leader, but the book illustrates to its readers that everyone can be a leader in many different ways, and good ideas to help become a great leader. Primarily, again, it was intended for LDS members who are going to be teaching within the church and desire to lead. The book begins by the author explaining what the views and opinions of the book are in his own, the opinions in the book are his own, and that they can be interpreted in any way that the reader deems fit. He begins by explaining what exactly leadership is. How is it defined? Is there any one definition on what leadership is? Or, what makes a great leader? There aren't necessarily any wrong or right answers. There are merely questions that are open to interpretation. What this book teaches. It teaches that anyone can be a leader. Sometimes people think that leadership just comes naturally to a person, or that a person is born that way. However, this is not the case. Leadership can come from the most unlikely places. Alexander Morrison gives one good example from his personal experiences. Spencer W. Kimball was called to be a prophet or president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, or again, the LDS Church. Many people thought that he was too old to lead the church, or that he just wasn't good enough. But all those people that thought were definitely proven wrong. Spencer W. Kimball became one of the most memorable prophets of the LDS Church history. Alexander Morrison teaches, too, ideas to utilize to become a great leader. Morrison gives some simple tools to utilize to become a great leader. First off, you should get to know the people you're attempting to lead. It's important that people feel like they're more than just a number or just a warm body within your company or within your employee. You should attempt to care for those you're leading and be a friend. Just by doing these simple things, these can make you a really great leader. Morrison explains a lot about the ways you can get to know the people you work with or the people that you're leading. A third thing it teaches are ways to communicate effectively with others. The way he talks about communicating effectively with others is by being calm and not judging people too quickly or rushing into situations. That's part of learning who your employees are, is a way to communicate effectively with them. In communicating effectively with others, it's important to keep up with records and information about your subordinates. When personality types clash, that's when it's hard to communicate. Morrison teaches that a leader must have courage. You have to have courage to do things that may not be popular, but you need to make those that you lead understand that what you're doing is right. In other words, and then they have to trust you. Your subordinates need to trust you. Being courageous means that you need to be the example. What you're doing will emulate to those that you are leading. If you're sitting around and being lazy, then the people that you lead are also going to sit around and be lazy. He teaches that it's important to do the right thing, even if it's not going to be the greatest thing in the world. You have to do what's right. That goes along, again, with making your subordinates trust you. Have perseverance. Having perseverance means going through with things, keeping up, having the energy to get things done to the very last thing. One good point that Morrison makes in his book is that you cannot have perseverance without patience. Patience is definitely a virtue. It's important to have patience with those you lead. If you have patience with them, then they will be more inclined to do what you want them to do. Not everyone's going to want to do exactly what you want, what you're trying to lead, and what you're trying to accomplish. So you must have perseverance in opposition. These things he teaches, although they are geared more towards a religious standpoint, you just replace some of the words, and it can be taken for anybody. Alexander Morrison has had to take on the role of a leader, and this book comes not only from his own personal experiences, but the ideas and experiences of others as well. This book was a quality source for leadership information. It contained very many things that can be taken to anybody in any line of work. The information in the book confirmed information that was learned in this course. The steps that he did to give ideas of what leadership is are the same things we've learned throughout our course. We also learned in the beginning that anybody can be a leader. It doesn't matter what kind of person you are, everyone has a potential. This is a communications class, and we learned that communication is key. We learn how to communicate with people who have different personalities from us. We learn the most effective ways to communicate and how we should structure our communication. The book did a very good job of explaining information well. He used experiences from his own life. He used experiences from others. The book wasn't very long, but it was broken down into chapters, and each chapter had different headings within the chapter. It was very easy to find what you were looking for if you didn't want to read the whole book. One weakness of the book is that it can't be taken to a global setting very much. It might offend some people if they're not religious. However, a strength of it is that if you do just replace words, if you take out the God and take out the Christ and everything, it can be applied to anybody. These are great tools to use in any kind of communication, business, and leadership. Genuinely, people want to follow somebody they think is a good person, and this teaches how to be a good person as well as a good leader. I would recommend this book to mostly those who serve in the LDS Church. It's more geared towards that. That's the whole reason he wrote this book. However, again, if you just replace the words, like I've said a million times, it can be applied to anything. But again, I would only recommend it mostly to those who are teaching within the LDS Church. I chose this book because, as mentioned before, I like to think out of the box. It's something that interests me, and it can be applied to anybody. Don't let appearances fool you. Tyler's book seems like it would definitely eliminate a huge portion of any audience, but as I discussed, the general ideas of leadership can apply to anybody. We spoke of what the essence of leadership is. We talked about the communication. We talked about what things that the book teaches. I hope this was of interest to some of you and that you can apply these leadership ideas in your own leadership style. Despite the religious undertones, or overtones in some cases, if you replace certain theological words with business jargon, it really can apply to anyone determined to be a good and inspirational leader.